A&P has been the people's choice.
We want to be a good neighbor so the people that interact with our customers.
Now we're saying yes to Michigan. A&P pledges guaranteed value.
In the golden age of American grocery shopping, one name ruled the shelves: A&P. The great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company wasn't just a store. It was the go-to destination for millions of Americans. At its peak, A&P had thousands of stores across the country, revolutionizing the way we shopped for food. But then, almost as quietly as it rose, it disappeared. So, what really happened to A&P? How did a once thriving empire fade into obscurity? Join us as we look at what really happened to A&P.
We Americans know what we like, and we really do like coffee. Did I say like?
George Gilman didn't set out to transform American retail, but that's exactly what he did. In the 1850s, he worked in his family's leather tanning business in Manhattan. When his father passed away in 1859, Gilman inherited enough wealth to pursue a new venture, one that would be far removed from leather. Looking for something more refined, he turned his attention to the tea and coffee trade. That same year, he founded the Great American Tea Company, initially wholesaling tea to shopkeepers. By 1861, Gilman was fully immersed in the tea and coffee industry, leaving the tanning business behind. He moved operations to 129 Front Street and began focusing on direct-to-consumer sales. In 1863, seeing the growing demand for affordable, high-quality tea, he revamped his business model. Gilman cut out the middleman and opened retail stores, quickly launching 5 small shops in New York City. As demand soared, he relocated his warehouse and office to 51 Vesey Street to keep up with growth. Gilman's approach was simple but highly effective: offer consistent quality at lower prices. By taking control of the blending, roasting, and packaging of his products, he was able to undercut competitors.
The A&P has its own coffee experts right on the spot to test and grade the contents of each bag.
He also pioneered one of the country's earliest mail-order services, making his goods available to rural Americans, including farmers and gold prospectors out west. The completion of the first transcontinental railroad in 1869 unlocked new opportunities for Gilman and his business partner, George Huntington Hartford. Together, they rebranded the company as the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, A&P. This marked the beginning of A&P's evolution, as they began selling prepackaged tea under branded labels like Thea Nectar, an innovative move at a time when most tea was sold loose. Though the Great American Tea Company name had helped build the brand in its early days, A&P quickly became the dominant public-facing brand, especially in urban storefronts. In 1871, the company launched an incredibly successful marketing strategy: premiums. By offering free gifts like glassware or lithographs with purchases, A&P not only encouraged repeat business but also created excitement and loyalty among customers. By the early 1870s, what had started as a modest tea and coffee operation had grown into a retail empire. Gilman's keen business sense, combined with the expansion of national infrastructure like the newly built railroads, set the stage for A&P to grow far beyond tea. Over time, A&P would evolve into one of America's first major retail chains. Its foundations built on innovations like direct sales, catalog shopping, and clever promotional strategies. Having established itself as a retail powerhouse, A&P reached new heights during the early 20th century, solidifying its place in American history.
We watch our P's and Q's at A&P.
Come on in. We're ready for you.
By the end of World War I, A&P was on the brink of something extraordinary. In 1925, the company operated nearly 14,000 stores, from small neighborhood shops to full-service grocers offering everything from coffee and tea to meat, produce, and dairy. With $400 million in sales and around $10 million in profit, A&P was the clear frontrunner in the grocery world. It seemed unstoppable, with stores popping up across the country, fueling the American retail revolution. Yet, despite this booming success, the Hartford brothers, George and John, were cautious about the future. Operating margins were around 22%, and they worried that rising costs might threaten A&P's key strength, its low prices. In early 1926, they made a bold move. They directed division leaders to tighten operations and focus on cost control. This shift paid off immediately. Sales jumped 32% that year, and A&P moved its headquarters to the newly completed Gray Bar building, right next to New York's Grand Central Terminal. A&P didn't just stop at the U.S. border. In 1927, the company expanded into Canada, quickly growing to 200 stores by 1929, mostly in Ontario and Quebec. Back home, A&P's reach continued to stretch, hitting 16,000 stores by 1930. That year, A&P reported an astonishing $2.9 billion in sales, an unmatched figure for the time, and captured a quarter of the grocery market share where it operated. Nationally, it earned about 1 out of every 10 grocery dollars. No one came close. A&P was roughly twice the size of Sears and 4 times larger than Kroger. Its dominance was unprecedented, and the company was synonymous with the American grocery experience. Then came the Great Depression, and the test was on. But A&P's cautious, debt-free strategy paid off. The company had expanded with minimal debt, and its reputation for unbeatable prices made it a lifeline for cash-strapped consumers. Between 1929 and 1932, A&P posted a remarkable $110 million in after-tax profits. The Hartford family, too, earned generous dividends, signaling A&P's ability to weather even the hardest economic storms. However, A&P's success wasn't without its critics. Independent grocers, unable to compete with A&P's pricing power, began to push back. By the mid-1930s, the movement against chain stores gained steam. In 1935, Texas Congressman Wright Patman proposed a special tax on chain stores, targeting giants like A&P that thrived on large-scale volume. Though Patman's initial bill didn't advance, the issue didn't fade. In 1936, he co-sponsored the Robinson-Patman Act, which sought to limit the volume discounts A&P had pioneered by prohibiting price discrimination. While the law aimed to protect small retailers, it threatened A&P's entire business model. In response, A&P took action. The company hired a seasoned Washington lobbyist and made a surprising move, publicly supporting unionization efforts by the American Federation of Labor. This unexpected alliance helped soften opposition from labor groups. Even more notably, the Hartford brothers issued an open letter to the public, warning that a new tax on chain stores would lead to higher food prices, a message that resonated strongly during the Depression. It was a calculated move to remind consumers of the vital role A&P played in keeping food affordable for everyday Americans. In the end, the proposed chain store tax never became law, and A&P kept its pricing advantage. Their resilience in the face of political pressure and economic hardship was a testament to the power of disciplined operations, strategic marketing, and a relentless focus on delivering value. A&P had firmly established itself as a cornerstone of American retail, its influence and legacy enduring through even the most turbulent times. Despite its dominance and innovation during the Golden Age, the landscape of retail was shifting. The rise of big-box competitors like Walmart would soon challenge A&P's position as the go-to grocery store.
Supermarkets owned by A&P that will shut down, with dozens more slated to be sold this year after their corporate parent declared bankruptcy.
By the early 2000s, A&P found itself on the defensive. The grocery world was evolving fast, and big-box retailers like Walmart were reshaping the landscape. Walmart's unbeatable prices and convenience pulled shoppers away from traditional grocery stores. Yet, in A&P's core Northeast market, Walmart still hadn't conquered the fresh food space. Local grocers continued to be the go-to for produce and deli staples. But even this advantage couldn't keep A&P afloat. In 2003, the company reported its largest ever annual loss, which triggered a wave of store closures. It shut down its Kohl's Food Stores chain and pulled out of Vermont and New Hampshire, reducing its reach to just 500 stores, half its size from only a decade earlier. This was a far cry from the powerhouse A&P had once been, and it was becoming clear that the company was struggling to adjust. That same year, A&P sold 8 O'Clock Coffee to Griffin investors for $107 million. Just 3 years later, Griffin flipped the brand to Tata Global Beverages for $220 million, more than doubling their investment. A stark reminder of how quickly fortunes were changing, and how far A&P had fallen from its peak. In 2005, A&P took another big step by selling its Canadian division, including 237 stores, to Metro Inc. in Montreal for $1.7 billion. This move marked A&P's full withdrawal from Canada, and by 2009, the A&P name had entirely disappeared from grocery aisles there, replaced by Metro branding. The company's once expansive reach was being whittled down, and the signs of struggle were growing harder to ignore. Back in the U.S., things weren't much better. In 2007, A&P closed its New Orleans division, focusing its efforts on the Northeast. But in a bold move, it acquired longtime rival Pathmark for $1.4 billion, instantly becoming the largest supermarket operator in the New York metro area. The deal, however, didn't come without challenges. The Federal Trade Commission raised concerns over competition in areas like Long Island and Staten Island, where A&P would dominate. To ease concerns, A&P agreed to sell off some Pathmark and Waldbaum stores to get the deal through. Despite efforts to pivot, A&P's challenges only deepened. In 2010, it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, weighed down by debt and poor performance. But in 2012, after restructuring, A&P emerged as a private company with Sam Martin taking over as CEO. For a brief moment, there was hope, a glimmer of a turnaround. In 2013 and 2014, the company posted modest profits, its first in years. However, it wasn't long before the reality set in that A&P's problems ran deeper than anyone had hoped. By 2009, as A&P marked its 150th anniversary, the reality was much harsher. Once a giant in retail, A&P now ranked 21st among North American grocery chains, with $9.6 billion in 2008 sales. While still ahead of smaller competitors, it was a far cry from its former glory. By then, Christian Haub was chairman, and Martin managed day-to-day operations, with Tengelmann, 38.5%, Yucaipa, 27.5%, and other investors holding shares. The company had become a shadow of its former self, and its future seemed increasingly uncertain. This period of constant reinvention saw A&P cutting underperforming stores, selling off legacy brands, and acquiring rivals, all in an attempt to regain market share. Yet, despite the occasional bright spot, the deeper structural issues couldn't be ignored. Years of underinvestment, changing consumer habits, and intensifying competition had taken a toll. The once iconic A&P name was slowly disappearing from storefronts across the country. Ultimately, no amount of fresh paint, high-stakes acquisitions, or fleeting profits could conceal the fact. The golden age of A&P was firmly in the rearview mirror. The company that had once dominated the American grocery landscape was now a mere memory, with its legacy fading fast as competitors and new retail giants continued to thrive.
The A&P is part of a strip mall that opened in 1996. Today, aside from a handful of original tenants, the shopping center is largely vacant and becoming a distressed property.
By the time A&P filed for its final bankruptcy in 2015, the verdict was clear. The once dominant grocer had lost its way. Industry insiders widely agree that A&P clung to outdated strategies far too long. For decades, the company focused on wringing every possible cent from its suppliers, a tactic that may have temporarily boosted margins but came at a long-term cost. Instead of asking, "What do our customers want?" A&P's leadership often asked, "What more can we get from vendors?" This narrow, profit-driven approach prevented the company from evolving in ways that mattered to modern shoppers. That mindset blinded the company to the evolving expectations of consumers. While competitors refreshed store layouts, added amenities like salad bars and wine shops, and created inviting retail spaces, A&P lagged behind. Many of its stores felt worn and unremarkable, frozen in time. Shoppers weren't just looking for groceries anymore. They wanted an experience, a sense of belonging, and a place that seemed to get them. A&P's drab aisles didn't meet that moment, and the company failed to create the emotional connection that other successful chains were building with their customers. At the same time, American food culture was changing rapidly. Grocery lists once built around staples like milk, eggs, and canned goods now included almond milk, organic kale, cage-free eggs, and fair trade coffee. Consumers sought out specialty diets, from gluten-free to vegan, and wanted fresher, locally sourced ingredients. Chains like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and The Fresh Market understood this shift. They created curated spaces that celebrated food trends and connected with health-conscious, value-driven shoppers. A&P, however, failed to keep up. Customers searching for GMO-free yogurt or pasture-raised eggs often left empty-handed or shopped elsewhere entirely, where their values were better understood. A 2013 Deloitte report underscored this retail transformation. The average American shopper, it found, now visited 5 different stores to complete a full grocery trip. No longer was one-stop shopping the norm. Instead, consumers cherry-picked, picking up organic produce at a co-op, stocking up on paper goods at a warehouse club, and nabbing niche snacks from boutique grocers. This fragmentation punished chains that relied on being everything to everyone. A&P, with its broad but shallow offerings, was particularly vulnerable. Shoppers wanted selection and specialization, not shelves stocked with the same brands they could find anywhere. A&P's failure to meet this new demand for tailored experiences only deepened its struggles. Meanwhile, the broader grocery battlefield was changing too. Walmart and Target moved aggressively into the food space, seeing groceries as a way to draw shoppers into stores for higher-margin purchases. These giants didn't need to profit on eggs or cereal. They could afford razor-thin margins, or none at all, because groceries were just one part of a much bigger revenue engine. A&P, on the other hand, could not match that scale or flexibility, and it was increasingly difficult for it to compete with these juggernauts on price, convenience, or experience. Supermarkets, by nature, demand constant reinvestment, refrigeration upgrades, tailored product selection, and local market adaptation. Without deep pockets or a nimble strategy, A&P simply couldn't keep pace. And when customers could pick up organic milk, a six-pack, and a sweater at the same place they were already shopping for household goods, A&P's old model looked increasingly irrelevant. In the end, it wasn't one single failure that brought the chain down, but a cascade of missed opportunities. A&P's inward focus, on vendors, not shoppers, left it unprepared for a world where food retail meant curation, innovation, and emotional connection. As other grocers adapted and thrived, A&P stayed static. Its aisles grew quiet. And by the time the chain tried to catch up, the customers were already gone, and the once dominant grocer was relegated to history. In a final attempt to revive the company, A&P's leadership set forth a plan to reboot the brand and reconnect with customers. However, this last-ditch effort would prove to be too little, too late.
But it's another thing to go to a familiar place that is completely shut down, completely closed to the public, and in the state that this place was.
A&P's journey, though marked by a few bumps along the way, is a story of resilience and hope. After facing its first bankruptcy in 2010, the iconic grocery chain made a comeback in 2012. What followed was a fresh chapter, with Sam Martin returning to the helm. With new energy and a vision for a brighter future, Martin had a plan to bring A&P back into the hearts of customers and restore its place among the grocery industry's giants. Martin's 5-step plan was built on a foundation of optimism and opportunity. The first step, to assemble a team of passionate, experienced leaders who could breathe new life into A&P. Recognizing that a strong team is at the heart of any great comeback, Martin brought together experts who were not only familiar with the grocery business, but were also ready to embrace change and steer the company into a new era. Next, Martin focused on strengthening A&P's financial position. He wanted to ensure the company had the stability it needed to flourish once again, with enough resources to weather any challenges that might come its way. Strengthening liquidity was key to giving the company the flexibility to adapt and grow. By stabilizing finances, Martin was laying the groundwork for future success, providing A&P with the breathing room to innovate and evolve. The third part of the strategy was all about efficiency. Martin recognized the importance of running a lean, effective operation, making sure that A&P's resources were being used in the most productive way possible. By making small yet impactful changes, such as closing stores that weren't performing well and reducing unnecessary costs, A&P could focus on the areas with the greatest potential for growth. Martin didn't stop there. He knew that A&P had to stay connected to its customers. The fourth step of his plan was all about giving shoppers more of what they loved: more value, better deals, and reasons to return. Whether through special offers, promotions, or a more thoughtful product selection, the goal was to create an experience that felt both rewarding and familiar. Martin's vision was clear. A&P would be the go-to grocery store, a place where shoppers could always find quality, value, and a little bit of that classic charm that made the chain so beloved. Finally, Martin wanted to enhance the in-store experience. This wasn't just about physical changes, although the brighter, more welcoming aisles and updated signage certainly helped. It was about creating a shopping experience that made customers feel at home, with friendly service, a clean environment, and an overall sense of comfort. A&P's stores were places to enjoy, not just to shop. But while the plan seemed promising, things didn't quite unfold as expected. Competitors had already begun to innovate in the ways that A&P couldn't match. Big box stores were offering unbeatable discounts, and specialty stores were catering to niche markets, like local and organic goods. Even so, A&P's efforts weren't in vain. They were a reminder of the company's long-standing commitment to improving and staying relevant. It wasn't about one grand success, but about striving to adapt to a changing world, and that effort deserves recognition. Looking back, it's clear that A&P's story was full of potential, even if the execution didn't fully match the ambition. There were plenty of moments that spark memories of the brand's heyday, a time when A&P was a cornerstone of many communities. Had the company been able to keep up with the changing landscape of grocery retail, perhaps it could have reinvented itself in a way that captured the public's imagination once again. In the end, A&P's journey serves as a gentle reminder of how even the most beloved brands need to evolve. While the strategies may not have worked out in the way that was hoped, there's still something heartwarming about a company that tried, that hoped, and that strove to bring back that special feeling that so many people remembered fondly. It's a testament to the spirit of resilience, and it shows us that even the biggest challenges can be faced with